Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. Alright, so this is the second episode of a new series I've started called Food Wars. Basically, in this series, I compare two different ways of eating, two different diets, if you will, and look at the nutritional value of each. So sometimes on paper, the nutritional value is higher than what the body's actually absorbing. So we go into all that stuff, how different foods affect absorption rates and how some nutrients need to be converted, things like that. So in this series, I want to compare two people who are pretty similar. So in the last episode, I compared two men who are, I think, roughly the same age, roughly the same height and weight, both pretty active. Today, we are going to be comparing Indica, who eats a raw vegan diet, to Tippy, who eats one meal a day keto. These are both women who are in shape, exercise regularly. I think they're pretty similar in height as well, from what I can tell. But anyways, I think that's the intro, so let's get into it. So starting off with Indica's macros, she ate 2,857 calories, had 44 grams of protein, 650 grams of carbs, 35 grams of fat. She also had 90 grams of fiber and 512 grams of sugar. Tippy had just over 2,000 calories. She had 151 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbs, 163 grams of fat, and then she had 5 grams of fiber and no sugar. So looking at vitamins first, Indica had more vitamin A, Tippy had more vitamin B12, Indica had more vitamin C, Tippy had more vitamin D, Indica had more vitamin E, and Indica had more vitamin K. Keep in mind that, as I said in the last episode, different forms of these vitamins are grouped together. So vitamin A, for example, plant forms are less easily absorbed by the body than animal forms. So even though Indica is coming out on top, that doesn't necessarily mean that she is absorbing more, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later. Now for minerals, Tippy came out on top for sodium, but everything else Indica ended up getting more of. For trace elements, iron is almost even. Again, we have to take into consideration the different forms of iron, so heme iron and non-heme iron, and how easily the body absorbs them. Zinc went in Tippy's favor. Copper went in Indica's favor. Iodine, Indica didn't get any, so Tippy came out on top in that. And I added selenium this time around, and Tippy also came out on top for that. Now with the omegas, it was pretty close for omega-3s. Total omega-3s, that is. Indica didn't get any EPA or DHA, whereas Tippy got a little bit. Omega-6s as well were pretty even. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was macros. Indica is eating only 35 grams of fat, which is a very small percentage of her total calories. This is an extremely low level of fat to be eating. Even the RDA has 44 grams as its minimum recommendation for women. Without getting enough fat in the diet, we cannot absorb fat-soluble vitamins. So these are vitamins A, D, E, and K. All of these vitamins are already less easily absorbed by the body when you are getting them from plants. Vitamin K, for example, the plant form is K1 and is less easily absorbed by the body. It also stays in your system for less time. Also, when you're getting vitamin A from plants, it is technically beta-carotene and needs to be converted into retinol. You can't really make this conversion if you're not getting enough fat. On the flip side, Tippy is getting more than adequate fat to absorb these vitamins optimally. And now onto protein. Again, indica is getting a very low amount. The RDA for women for protein is 46 grams, but this recommendation is based off someone who is sedentary. Indica runs a personal training business called Fruit Muscle Fitness and does a lot of other strength training on her own as well. I think it's pretty fair to say that she's quite active and not sedentary. Someone who is wanting to build muscle, as I assume she is, should be eating well above the RDA for protein. One of the consequences of not meeting your protein requirement is your body will start breaking down its lean muscle and other tissues. Tippy, on the other hand, seems to do a similar amount of strength training, and she's eating 3 times the amount of protein. And all in one meal, no less. And now, since we're talking about Tippy, I was actually pretty surprised to see that her diet was almost carnivore. She only had a few plants in her one meal, just the broccoli, some garlic. Other than that, it was carnivore. And this kind of makes me wonder why she is still keeping this small amount of plants in her diet. This is where I was at a couple of months ago. I was still doing exactly what she's doing, making a steak and having a side of broccoli. And I kind of just got to a point where I was like, why am I making this broccoli? What is the point? I don't feel like I'm getting any nutrition from it. It's wasting my time, wasting my energy, not really making me feel great. I mean, I didn't really have any negative side effects from it except for like maybe a little bit of bloating. But I just think it's interesting that we prepare our meals based on habit and based on how we think they should be structured. All right, and then moving on to sugar. This is another thing I wanted to talk about. Indica ended up eating over 500 grams throughout the day. Now, you may be saying it was all from fruit, but really when it comes down to it, sugar is sugar. The 100 plus grams she's eating at once is going to send her blood sugar soaring. And when it comes crashing down a couple hours later, her energy is also going to crash. And that's when you get stuck in this cycle. Your blood sugar drops, you get sugar cravings, and you need to fill them to get your energy back up. I can only imagine the roller coaster that her blood sugar is going on every day. Tippy, on the other hand, is only eating 1 meal a day, meaning her blood sugar would be extremely consistent. And even when she is eating, because her meal is so high in fat and protein and low in carbohydrates, her blood sugar would still remain very stable. At the start of the year, I did an experiment where I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor. So basically that was tracking my blood sugar 24/7. And when I was eating keto/carnivore, my blood sugar was absolutely stable. I also did a couple of days where I was eating a vegan diet. And yeah, my graphs for that looked a lot different. And finally, I wanted to touch on omega-3s and omega-6s. This is one area that both parties fell a bit short on. In a perfect world, you want to keep your omegas in balance. Modern diets tend to be very high in omega-6, and this means that less omega-3 is converted to DHA and EPA. So because DHA and EPA are only found in animal foods, Indica didn't get any through her diet, so she will be relying completely on what her body can convert. On the other side, Tippy did get a little bit of DHA and EPA, not a whole lot. If she were to supplement with a cod liver oil or eat salmon, something along those lines, those would both increase 10 to 15 times. and that's as easy as 1 tablespoon of cod liver oil. Now, both of their ratios were about 6 to 1 in favor of omega-6. So, I mean, that's not terrible. I think on Tippy's end, this was a bit higher than it might usually be. She did eat pork belly this day, and pork does have a bit of an unfavorable ratio. And like I said, if she had salmon or something instead, this would not be a concern. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments down below who you think the winner was of this episode of Food Wars. Remember to give this video a like, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.